Hello everybody, it's Dr. Drake 63 here, and today I'm going to do a bit of what I'll call a budget hunting rifle shoot-off. I'll qualify that statement a little bit. One of them would be classified as a true budget hunting rifle, and the other, probably depending on how you accessorize it, could be anywhere from budget all the way up to medium to high priced. It all depends on how you accessorize it. That would be the one on the top, which is the Remington 700 ADL. This one is in 308. It is topped off by a Vortex Diamondback 2x7 scope. And there are no modifications to the trigger. There are no modifications to anything on this particular firearm. The bolt, you name it, it's all stock. Below it is its newer cousin or little brother, however you want to call it, is a Remington 783. I've covered this rifle before. In fact, I believe it's still the most popular video that I have posted in terms of YouTube response. Views, that kind of thing. This is in 270 Winchester. Quick overview, whereas this has an internal magazine, you load it through the top. This particular rifle, the 783, has a magazine that loads into it. So there's your big difference. Okay. Now I've given each of these a rattle can paint job. The one on the bottom, about 3.5, 4 years ago. And it's been out in the field, it's been wet. It's been rolled over on, fallen over, bounced around in a truck, you name it, and it's holding up pretty well. Forgot to mention, this is topped off with a Bushnell Banner 3x9 scope. Now this is a scope, whereas the Vortex Diamondback's a couple $100. This particular scope here is available for $89. And I have shot some darn good groups with this combination on the bottom. Penny size 3-shot group at 100 meters. So today we're going to go out and at a couple different distances. We'll start at 100. We'll bounce out to 2 and see what the weather's going to allow us to do today. But we're going to compare these. We're going to see how they do shooting against each other. And it's the same shooter, me. Again, no modifications at all. Factory trigger here on the 783. Now, this particular firearm can be had today under $300 without a scope, believe it or not. You top it with a scope and with the hardware needed, and you're looking at a $450, maybe $425 rifle. On top, this ADL combination with the Vortex Diamondback, a couple $100 more. So gonna go ahead and just go ahead and qualify right off the bat. We are not shooting the same caliber. We're not shooting off a lead sled. So there's a few things here that make this a very unscientific accuracy test compared to absolute accuracy test. But looking forward to giving you my comments after shooting them both kind of side by side today. Okay, the 2 rounds we used today. For the 308 Winchester, we used 165 grain Fusion made by Federal. And for the 270 Winchester, the Remington 783, we used 130 grain Fusion, also a Federal product. Okay. Now, looking at the ballistics of these 2 rounds, you're going to find not a lot of difference at the end of the day. On the bottom here, you see the 270 Winchester. It's got a muzzle velocity at 3,050 feet per second and energy at zero at the muzzle of 2685. And if you compare that, you've got a lower velocity by a good 300 or so feet per second with the 308, but similar energy, 2671, 2685. You'll also notice that this 308 is going to drop 4.1 inches at 200 yards with a 100-yard zero, and drop a whopping 14 inches at 300 yards. What do we see for the 270 Winchester? Drops 2.9 at 200 and 11 inches at 300. So it's a flatter shooting round. You're going to notice that the energy that it hits with is very similar. So you just need to do a little bit more doping with the 308, basically. So here you see me with the 783. I have nothing major going on in terms of a bench rest. So we're just using that ammo box and resting our hand on top of it in this case. Nothing fancy here, no sleds, no sandbags. Just a basic bench rest kind of shooting. Now we're switching over to the 700 ADL, and that's got the internal magazine, and I'm not necessarily thrilled about loading those, especially the 308 with the shorter cartridge. It can be a little difficult for me, but it's something that you do once and then you go hunting, so not really a big deal. But here I've actually taken my ammo box and put the box of cartridges on top of it to get a little bit better purchase from the shooting bench. But again, this isn't ideal, but this is how we do it. We're not getting too fancy with this. We can improve our accuracy, as I said, with a sled, but in this particular case, we're just doing what I call the old school home remedy. Walking out to look at these targets, just kind of giving you a view of the blustery day that it is. This particular berm is 100 yards, and it's closer in, less windy than the farther out stuff, just due to its position in the field. But as you can see, this is right here is the Remington 700 ADL. Decent group right out of the box. Here with the 783, we had to make some adjustments. You can see a nice group on the right, a couple touching each other, but they were too far to the right, so we did need to move it over. And keep in mind also that the wind had picked up when we started shooting the 783 versus when we were shooting the 700 earlier. Next, we took it out to 225 yards. Here I am shooting the Remington 700, and you're going to see from the results of this target that the wind is definitely starting to take effect. Now this is the 225-yard target, and I aim just dead center, and this is with 308. So you can see, whereas my earlier 100-yard shots were straight up and down, basically, you can see what the wind's doing. This is the same holdover. And again, we're going to cover these up and see what we can do with the 270 Winchester. Given the wind conditions here at 225 yards, I'm going to take the 270 Winchester with that 130 grain. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. As I say, you can see what's going on with that wind. And I aim dead center on that. Please. Look at that 225-yard target again with this crazy wind we had today. I'm quite pleased with this. This is a 270 Winchester. It's the Remington 783. No holdover or anything. Dropped a little bit more than I'd like. I mean, typically I'd like to be right at a bullseye at 200. Obviously, you start dropping a little bit after that. So I'd say from a zeroing standpoint, I'm just a little bit low. But this group on a windy day, you know, do the math on 225 here, and this is a sub-MOA group. And that's with, like I said, that's with a rifle you can get for less than $300. As you can see, the wind out here is quite active. And I took 3 shots at this. This is about 350 yards out. And my holdover was basically top left corner and about 1 inch high. And this is what we got. So it's gusty. This is with the 308. I don't know how much better we can expect today in these conditions given my equipment and my capabilities, but we're gonna keep trying. Back out here at 365, this is the 270 Winchester, and I experimented with some different holdover on this, but basically my point of aim is about right here, and as you can see, you see 4 hits. I actually took a total of 5 shots, so I missed one. I took some extra ones. I saw this one initially. So my first 2 were low and missed, and you can see right here that at 360 we got a flat out bullseye. And in addition to that, all of them are minute of man, so to speak. So very pleased. But moving on to the rifles themselves and what kind of results we got. You know, how do I declare a winner out of these 2 rifles? It's kind of hard to do. I mean, the 700's been around forever. 308 is a very popular round, and there's no question about it. No issues at all with how she shot today. Very good hunting accuracy in some adverse conditions. But I'd have to say, with a cheaper build, a cheaper scope, and just a less expensive overall rifle, I'd have to say that the 270 outshot the 308. So the 783 beats the 700. Now, there's some reasons for that, but if you just look at the way that this thing is constructed here, the bolt on the 783 is just tubular steel that has a bolt head that is attached to the end, where here you have solid construction for the Remington 700. They're both a double lug locking design. Okay, not a lot of difference there, but interesting to note. You do also have some differences that might account, I think, for accuracy being slightly in the favor of the 783, besides perhaps the caliber. This trigger right here, which is standard on the rifle, is phenomenal. I believe this was when Marlin was acquired by Remington. This particular trigger was taken off the Marlin XL series, and it's just an outstanding trigger. Once you depress this little lever here, this trigger has a very, very easy 2.5 to 3 pound pull, and it is adjustable. But you look at other things that folks don't like about this rifle. You notice here that this lug here, where you attach your sling, the sling mount, it's part of the plastic. It's molded in as it is on the front. And when you compare that to something like this, which screws off and on, a lot of people prefer that. A lot of people will just automatically replace the stocks on the 783, which I think is a bit of a mistake in accuracy terms, because this is a pillar-bedded, floated design. So even though it kind of feels like a cheap stock, the way that the action is attached to it and so forth is actually pretty dang good. So again, and I guess I have to, while I'm at it, just go ahead and compliment this Bushnell Banner scope. It's been through a lot. It's been banged around. It holds zero very well, and as you see from shooting results today, does an admirable job. And I'm not going to pretend it's the best scope out there. There's lots of better glass, but you know, we live in an age where some of the inexpensive stuff does a pretty good job. Now, fair's fair. Let's talk about how this was not a scientific endeavor today. First of all, you had two different calibers. If you were going to do this right, you would have the same caliber from the same manufacturer. These would both be chambered in the same round. Second thing you'd do is you would have the same optic on both rifles. So we'd either have both of these be the Bushnell Banner 3x9, or both of these would be the Vortex Diamondback 2x7. Okay, so this is supposedly better glass. It certainly costs more. Costs 2.5, 3 times as much, but this performs very well. Okay. The other thing you'd do is you'd shoot both of these off of sleds and not be involved with a situation where any shooter influence or any shooter error could be detected. And last but not least, you would both have the same trigger. And if I had to pick out of these two, this X-Pro trigger, I believe, that Remington calls it on their 700, versus the 783 stock trigger, hands down, guys, without a doubt, ugly plastic trigger guard and all, this is a superior trigger. This is a trigger that if you wanted to package this and charge a lot of money for, people would buy it and would be going nuts about it. So kudos to Remington on that. But like I said, I would take either of these rifles hunting. I have hunted with the one successfully on the bottom. This year, who knows what we're going to do when we go out west hunting. Will I take this new rifle? Last year, I took the Remington 600 in 308 and took 3 deer with that. So, and I believe this rifle right here is a little bit more accurate than that one was. Or will I go with this old standby, which was always going to be, for me, a backup rifle, a rifle for if someone was coming along on our hunting trip and needed a rifle. I had a rifle for them, and I wouldn't have had spent a lot of money for it. You know what, guys? I've really got attached to this thing. And I believe any of you that would look at this particular rifle would probably get attached to it too, if you could get past that, hey, it's a budget entry-level rifle and I don't buy stuff like that. So there is that. But I was very happy with how this shoots. This is a rifle that's still breaking in. You know, the chamber gets a little bit more fouled, and we do some more experiments with what ammo it likes, and I think we'll see better results. This is a rifle that's been accurate pretty much from day one, and who knows what the future of Remington is. My hope is that Remington will continue to manufacture quality firearms. I know I'm going to get a disagreement from some who'll say, their stuff's gone downhill and everything else. I don't find that to be the case. I don't find that to be the case at all. But the days of blued steel and nice fancy wood in the rifle market have kind of gone away, just like they've gone away in other parts of the firearms market. People are finding that these polymers are more durable, they last longer than wood, they wear better than wood, and so there is that. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching today, and hope that you can get an opportunity to have both of these rifles like I do. You can do so. You can have both of these rifles for like $1,000 or under with scopes on them, and if that's what you want to do. But homemade camo job, courtesy of me. I don't have a patent on either pattern, but I liked how they turned out. You'll be hearing more about these rifles in this year's hunting expedition. This is DR Drake 63 saying thank you very much for your time today, and for letting me get in depth on what these rifles do versus each other, the Remington 700 and the Remington 783. Remember, folks, support the National Rifle Association. Have a great day.